Swashbucklers, you're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 47. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you once again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Episode number 47, fun fact about the number 47. Lots of weird facts about the number 47. For some reason, it seems to be the most common random number. Like if you ask somebody, give me a random number between like 1 and 100, they will more often give you 47 than anything, right? So that's one weird thing about 47. Like it appears in a lot of different places, and it became apparently like a favorite number of some mathematics professor at Pomona College in the 60s, and he used 47 in some proof that he was using it as an example. Mathy stuff, you know. And so anyway, one of the graduates from Pomona College, Joe Minoski, he went on to become a writer for Star Trek: The Next Generation. And what happened was all the writers got into this idea of 47. And so if you look at all the episodes of that program, including Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Star Trek Enterprise, every episode has a reference to 47 or 74 or multiple of those numbers or something like that. Weird, right? Like who knows? I didn't even know that. See, because what I do is when I'm writing up the notes for the episode, is I'll go look up the number and see if there's something interesting about it. And 47 apparently has way too many interesting things about it. I was such a strange random number, but apparently the most common random number. So anyway, my guest on the show today is Laura Nelson, who runs a website called the Whydah Pirates Speak and also has a book out by the same name. And you can check out the website. It is at petercorneliushoof.blogspot.com. Weird URL, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about it in the interview, why it's that URL. And if you're driving, you're out running, you're like, I'm never going to remember that URL. That's okay. Just go to the show notes. It'll be there. It's show notes underthecrossbones.com/047. I'll have a link to it right there. I'll also have a link to the book, the Whydah Pirates Speak, that we talk about and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, so it's going to be a great interview. She's got a really interesting angle on the whole Whydah ship thing, where she's talking about all the guys that we don't hear about, basically. So she's got some pretty interesting stories. So if you're listening to this whenever you're listening to it, I'm recording it today, and today is 4th of July because I put this out the day before it comes out. I record it the day before it comes out because I can't record it in real time. So today's 4th of July when we celebrate the end of a revolution by blowing things up, which is that's what we do. And it's always interesting. We're not going to do much today. We're going to go have some barbecue with my parents. We might go scope out some fireworks somewhere, but pretty mellow day for us. But, I wanted to tell you about this book that I've been reading. That it's called Thomas Jefferson and the Tripoli Pirates. It's by Brian Kilmeade. Interesting book. It's from the book isn't from the 1780s, but it's set in the 1780s. And it is the true story of how the early forefathers, just after the revolution, were dealing with Barbary pirates out of Tunisia, Tripoli, Morocco, those type of places. And really interesting. So if you're looking for some 4th of July Revolutionary War era piratey type stuff to read, Thomas Jefferson and the Tripoli Pirates by Brian Kilmeade is a good read. I'm about halfway through it, so it's a good one. I just got back from Bakersfield, California, where I was doing a show on Saturday, and it was one of those. It was a gig that was supposed to be part of another run, and then that date got moved, and I didn't have time to book other things around it. So I drove on Saturday. I drove 5 hours to Bakersfield. I got to my hotel. I checked in. I changed clothes. I went directly to the venue. I did the show. Good show. Not a huge show. A holiday weekend, a lot of people out of town, but we had a good, solid little audience, and I got to do a bunch of new material that I'd been working on, which is always weird because if I'm being paid and it's a paying audience, I always want to give them the best show possible, and I do most of that. That's what I do most of the time. I don't go to a lot of open mics and things like that anymore, but so I have to kind of force myself to throw in the new material that may not be super top-notch yet. And I try to keep it to a minimum so that I'm still giving the people their money's worth. But I did get to try out some new stuff that I'm kind of excited about. I got a new little chunk about the Greek Titan Atlas that I've been playing with, and some things about credit scores and exercising and Dungeons and Dragons, which is, that's a Not every bit is for every audience. Fortunately, I had some gamers in that audience in Bakersfield, and they got the Dungeons and Dragons joke. I even made a gelatinous cube joke. If you're a gamer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, drove 5 hours in, changed clothes, went directly to the venue, did the show, went and had a very disappointing burrito. Very disappointing. I'm in Bakersfield, California. There are a lot of Mexicans in Bakersfield. The street I was on 18th Street, had 3 Mexican restaurants on the same corner. And this was the high-rated place in Yelp, right? Because I was looking in Yelp, and it was flat, kind of wasn't rolled well. The carne asada was too salty. Disappointed burrito. And then I went back to my hotel and slept, and then I got up and I drove 5 hours home. So essentially I spent 10 hours round trip, wasted 10 hours to work for 1 hour, which I guess pretty much makes it like any other job in the world. From what I hear from my working friends, that seems to be how their day goes too. But anyway, fun show, had a great time, met lots of nice people, and it was a good time. I do have, of course, other tour dates coming up. July the 7th, that's this Thursday, I'll be at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz. July the 14th, I'll be headlining at the St. George Hotel in Volcano, California, which is a tiny, tiny town with 2 streets. And then July 15th, which is a Friday, I think, I'll be at the Underdog Winery in Livermore, headlining that show. Kind of a light month. I'm doing some other things behind the scenes that I'll tell you about later, and it's all good. But yeah, I got a new toy in my office. I got a new toy. Hang on, I'll show you. There you go, a little Under the Crossbones theme on my new piano with a weird note. I think I hit a bad note in there, but that's okay. Yeah, so I got a new piano right here in my office. It's very cool. It's my girlfriend's old piano that she played on when I was a kid, and we had these piano movers bring it from her mom's house over here. And man, I have moved a piano. They're horrendously heavy, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. It took forever when I moved a piano. It was me and my dad. We moved one. Oh, it was terrible. Not fun. These people had it out of the house in 10 minutes and into my house in about 15, because I have a weird corner coming to my house. It was so fast, and they were so good at it. They kind of they have it on a cart, and they roll it end over end. It was like watching finely tuned piano gymnastics. So it's really great. But I'm happy to have a piano here in my office now. That probably means that you will hear some ridiculously horrible, wanky ballad come out of my recording process sometime soon. Or, better, a satire of a horrible, wanky piano ballad. That's probably more likely. The other thing I got this week was I finally broke down and spent $12 and got a Google Cardboard, the VR thing that you stick your phone in, virtual reality thing, right? And I'm interested in virtual reality. I'm trying to find out more about it and dig deeper into it, because it's going to fundamentally change storytelling. See, because here's the thing. In most storytelling, whether it's a book or a movie or a stand-up comedy show or whatever it is, the audience is pointed in one specific direction that the creator wants them to be looking at. And now when we're talking 360 degrees, or we're talking 3 dimensions, or we're talking that people will be able to walk through virtual environments, completely changes the storytelling process. And it's on par with the way Gertie the dinosaur changed character animation, or the way that sound changed to film, or it's going to be a crazy different way of storytelling. And I feel like I need to get an early start on it, so I understand the medium a little bit more. And I absolutely don't yet, and it's very. It is very humble beginnings all the way around. I've seen some really incredible things, but there's so much more that can be done. So I'm investigating that kind of stuff a little bit. I saw a fantastic YouTube video that was really great, very intimate, and it was done in like 360, right? Not 3D, but 360. By the way, having an office swivel chair really, really helps when you're working with the VR goggles. So it's kind of cool. But I mean, picture this. Like, say you're doing a sword fight scene on a pirate ship, and there's things happening all around. Well, now that person can be standing in the middle of that whole scene and spin around and see everything that's going on, right? Now, that's cool and works pretty easily in a context like that. And like theme park designers have been dealing with some of this stuff for years now. Like when they put in the Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin in Disneyland, in Toontown there. That one, because they had the spinning cars, they had to make sure that everything had something interesting to look at pretty much at all times. And they could kind of direct you by putting an interesting thing over here and a brick wall on the other side. But even so, you still have control of all that kind of stuff. Well, now all that is coming to every entertainment medium. And I don't know what it's going to mean for things like stand-up comedy. I know Comedy Dynamics has filmed a little bit of stand-up in VR, which I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but I wanted to check it out. But, it's in things where we want people to pretty much look in one direction to experience the show. It's going to just absolutely mean huge, huge changes for everything going on around it, because now they can look behind them. And if there's not something interesting going on behind them, then you're not using the tools to their fullest capability. So it's going to be interesting. I actually have a couple of ideas that I've been writing that would actually probably work well in VR. So who knows? There's going to be an amazing world of things coming up soon that is just going to be crazy. Okay, so let's get into, I'm going to do all the other stuff after the interview. Let's get into this fantastic interview. You're really going to dig this one with Laura Nelson, author of The Whydah Pirates Speak, and her website, again, is at petercorneliushoof.blogspot.com. She'll tell you all about why that's the name of it, because I asked her. And here we go. Let's check out that interview with Laura Nelson. So you run a blog about Golden Age piracy, and in particular, the Whydah Pirates and that type of thing. So tell me a little bit about your project and how you started it.
I got interested after attending the Real Pirates exhibit in Denver, Colorado in 2011.
Okay.
And that got my interest started. And about, I think it was 2012, 2013, I started writing my first article. Well, actually, I think it was 2013 when the first one was published. I started writing it before that.
Okay.
Kind of got the ball rolling.
Okay. What was that first one about?
It was called Peter Cornelius, Hoof and Me. And it was, as I read a lot of the materials, the names sort of leaped out at me.
Uh-huh.
And I just got really interested. Mostly a lot of my interest in what I do sometimes is I've been concentrating on some of the lesser known pirates from the Whydah rather than just Sam Bellamy.
Okay. And that's an interesting one because I have your website address is petercorneliushoof.blogspot.com. And I was like,
yeah,
where did that name come from? Because I'm not familiar with him. So tell me a little bit about him.
He was, he said he was born in Sweden, and he was forced to join the pirates in, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like March of 1716.
Okay.
He sailed a lot with the Dutch before that. And he was one of the men who was sent over the day of the wreck of the Whydah. They had captured some ships earlier, and he was sent as one of the prize crew to the Marianne, which survived the storm. They crash landed on the beach near Wellfleet, and they survived, but they were captured in Easton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
They were walking back to Rhode Island to maybe hook up with a ship or something. And they ended up being tried and hanged for piracy in Boston.
Okay. All right.
November of 1716. Yeah.
Okay. So like many of them, he didn't make it.
Right. Yeah.
And so what made you pick that name for your domain? I thought that was interesting.
At that time, I was so immersed in the initial research and trying to put everything together. If you look around, everybody's, pirate lady, pirate girl, pirate this, and it was made to be a little different. And plus, since I was writing so much about him, and his name isn't anywhere on there, so I'm like, okay, this will be unique. So, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And so this is pretty much like a for fun project for you, or what do you foresee it doing?
Hoping eventually to see a little money from it eventually. Okay. I enjoy it. Maybe eventually have a writing career. Maybe branch out from the pirates eventually.
Nice. Okay. And you've done some fiction work on there as well, right?
A little bit, yes. I've done some fiction work. I did have a short story published back in, was it 2014? I'm forgetting now.
Okay.
The story was called Rosa and the Pirate, and it was fiction story. The book was A Tall Ship, a Star, and Thunder. And I've done I have a couple stories out right now, but I'm in that period of time with writing where you wait for months and months and months to hear anything. So I don't know if those will get published. I'm also working on another article for Cindy Villar's Pirates Privateers. website.
Great. Yeah. So you've contributed to Cindy Valor's site a few times, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's mostly where I've been published, yes.
That's great. That's fantastic. She was one of my early guests on the show, and actually has the most popular episode of this show. She has more downloads than anybody. Every day I see a bunch of downloads for her episode. It's great. So how did you get into writing? It seems like you seem like you have a writery personality, even more so than a piratey personality. It seems like pirates became a reason to write something. So where did your writing come from?
I wrote a lot when I was younger, and then for some reason, after I left college, I just I got away from it. I don't know if it was just a life got in the way sort of thing
Uh-huh.
or what happened. But going to this exhibit kind of helped, just like sort of boom, revived that.
Uh-huh.
Hard to explain how that happened, but it just seemed to wake that back up. And of course, that first article took me a long time because I had not written in a lot of years, and especially not nonfiction.
Uh-huh.
And so that first one was a big struggle, but it's getting better and easier now. I've been doing it for a couple of years again. So
Sure. Yeah. It's writing is definitely a muscle that takes the working out just like anything else.
yeah.
And I assume you enjoy writing.
Oh yeah. And that's been one thing about the Pirates. I enjoy the research.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just reading the books for the research is enjoyable, and the writing, it doesn't feel, I mean, it's work and it takes work, but it doesn't really feel much like it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I enjoy coming home from work and then immersing myself in the 17th century, you know.
I can see that. The reason I asked that is because when I was a kid, I hated writing. Like if the teacher assigned a 150-word essay, I freaked out. I just hated doing it. And now it's all I do is writing. I somehow ended up being a professional writer on many different levels. And do you have a regimen of any sort where you do you have your writing time, or do you have any rituals that go around it?
Not really. It's hard with the nonfiction because so much of it is also research, not
Sure.
just sitting and writing.
Yeah.
When you're doing the fiction, you can do that, but when you're doing the nonfiction, you got to spend as much time researching and, you know, checking your pages and everything and getting the quotes right as you do writing. I don't really have any rituals. I don't think I do use. I was going to get a couple years ago. I was going to get an iPad,
Uh-huh.
and I ended up getting this little 10-inch. Instead, I got a little 10-inch HP computer, and it was kind of funny because it came for $299. It came with Microsoft Office installed.
Uh-huh.
So basically, I paid for $70 for a computer and for Microsoft Office, and so. But it's really neat to write on that because if I want to, the idea was I could take that with me if I wanted to go, you know, sit at Starbucks or wherever and write and get out of the house. So that's kind of my writing machine.
Okay.
That's basically what that computer gets used for.
That makes sense, yeah, because sometimes when you just get that change of scenery, you start to get some different ideas. I know that's why I keep, all my stuff I keep on Evernote so that I can grab it on my phone and it's all synced up to my laptop and everything, because I will be in line at the grocery store and think of that next great joke for my act and go, oh, okay, I got to write this down. Now I don't have to carry around a notebook anymore, which is nice.
Yeah, it's when I first started writing, it was all longhand to a large extent. Sometimes I still do, depending. Like if I'm sitting up and it's late at night, I'll just handwrite just to get the idea, like you said, to get the idea down so you don't forget it.
Sure, yeah.
And I'll go back and translate that into the, computer.
Yeah. Now, as far as the articles you've written and the stories you've told on your site, do you have any particular favorite Whydah stories that were really surprising to you?
The one about John Julian was interesting.
Okay.
Researching him. The debate about whether or not he's the Julian, the Indian who was executed in 1730 for trying to escape slavery.
And is that still up in the air as to whether he is or not?
Well, it's, I saw an article not too long after I wrote mine about him saying that, that wasn't possible for that to be him. And like I put in my article, I said, if he was the same one. So, I don't know if that's anything we'll ever be able to prove if he is or isn't.
Interesting.
Yeah, researching like who was Olivier Levasseur, who sailed in consort with them for a while. His
Uh-huh.
story's been interesting researching, trying to find some of that. So it's just there's a lot of little side stories that are fascinating with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you don't hear a lot of. I'm not even familiar with a lot of those. So
Yeah.
what kind of research materials are you using? Where do you find your information?
Some of it's just books. I'll hear about different books from people. And then once I had a few books, I started, you go into the footnotes. Okay, I'll go, where did this person get this from? And then you go look for that. And it's like, oh, well, they got it from somewhere else. Where they get it from? Where I can, like with the trial of the Whydah Pirates in Boston, I was actually able to get a hold of the trial transcripts from that
Hmm.
out there, which was also interesting, trying to read Old English the way they wrote
I'm
and
sure.
everything.
Yeah.
There was no standard spellings, and they used F instead of S, so it's very interesting. Sometimes you really have to stop and think about what it is they're trying to say because it's so different, such a
Yeah.
different style.
Yeah, that can be very tricky reading that old stuff. That's great. But that's really cool that you're telling sort of these unheard stories that people don't concentrate on that much. I'm not even sure. I don't know. Have you had a chance to visit the museum, the Wooden Museum yet?
Yeah, I did. I actually did make a trip out in 2012, went out
Uh-huh.
to Cape Cod, went to the museum. It was very interesting. Made a couple trips to the Real Pirates exhibit when I was here in Denver.
Hmm.
So I've been to the the permanent museum out in Cape Cod, and I guess they're installing the whole exhibit into a permanent museum now. So
Yeah, yeah. I just heard they're supposed to open that new one soon. I'm
yeah,
gonna see if I can get some of those guys back on the show to now that they have something to promote. Um,
yeah,
so in the museum, because I haven't been to the museum, in the stories that they're telling, are they talking about any of those smaller characters like you are?
a little bit. Of course, mostly they concentrate on Sam Bellamy since he was considered the captain.
Uh huh.
But as you go through the exhibit, at least the way it was in the traveling exhibit, there were quotes from some of the other pirates. Peter Cornelius Swift gets quoted in one because he said there was oh boy, was it 20 to 30,000 pounds sterling, and they sat in the cabin one night and counted it all out, divided it up into 150 bags weighing 50 pounds each. So that quote was on the wall. So they do show a little bit of some of the other pirates, at least.
Well, that's
So
that's good. That's good. I think you found an interesting little niche of just people that nobody's talking about outside of the big names.
that was part of my goal because, as interesting as Blackbeard is and some of the other more famous pirates, everybody's writing about them.
Hmm.
And I really felt like, unless I have something really new, you're kind of just rehashing what everyone else has done. And this way, with these lesser known guys, you're bringing out things that people didn't know about the more everyday type pirates.
Certainly, yeah. Have you gone outside of Sam Bellamy's crew and consort at all?
Not yet. This next article I'm working on now for Cindy is going to end up being as much about Sam Bellamy as it's going. This is the first one I've really featured Sam Bellamy as much, but it's also because of the way the events intertwine. It's going to end up being about John Martell almost as much as Sam Bellamy.
Okay, and who's he?
Him, I'm still pinning down a bit. He's kind of one of the more mysterious ones. There's not a lot about where he came from, and then there's some of his actions, and then what happened to him at the end is kind of shaky too. There's a couple different stories about his demise,
Oh,
and
okay.
there's not an exact story out there.
Huh.
But apparently, he was just really cruel pirate. He liked to torture his captors and everything.
Oh,
He's not.
torturing the captains. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, he was one of the meaner ones. Yeah, he really.
Well, that should be an interesting story when you dig it all
Yeah.
up in there.
I think it will be. I just have to put it all together. I have kind of a rough draft right now, but I need to do a lot of work on it. So
Very
not
cool. Very
ready
cool.
yet.
So that's the next article you have coming up. What are some of your long-term plans for your writing?
Well, right now I am putting together a book of all of the articles that I put on Cindy Valor's website,
Uh-huh.
along with trial transcripts. Everything's done. I'm just waiting for the cover artist to finish doing her illustration, and then I'm going to release that as an ebook when that's ready. I'd like to do a print book, but I don't know how much money that's going to be. So I'm going to go with ebook initially.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and I was talking to one of my other guests about this too. You can actually do print books through Amazon, where they do a print on demand thing, and it's a program called CreateSpace, which they just changed the name of, and I think they're making it part of some other part of Amazon. But if you Google CreateSpace, they'll actually do on-demand printing. You sort of basically upload it as an ebook, and then they take care of it from there on order. So that's one way to do print. Yeah. Someone else had told me about CreateSpace, and I had not yet started it because I was waiting for my artist to get done with the cover. Aha.
She's doing a really great job. She showed me a preliminary sketch, and she's doing a really great job. So I don't want to push at her, until I push at her at this time, because I want it to be really good. I love what she's doing. Uh-huh. But yeah, that's what somebody else told me about the CreateSpace too. So maybe that's the way I'll be able to get a print book out.
Yeah, it's very good. I've used it for my DVD projects actually. So rather than shipping DVDs to Amazon, I just do it through that, and then I'll let them print the DVDs when they're ordered. It's great.
Yeah, thanks, because I just don't have the money, and it's hard, trying to market a book to publishers and stuff. Maybe might be the better way to go for me as an individual right now at this point in my career,
Sure, yeah. And what's the name of the book going to be?
It's going to have the same title as the blog, The Whydah Pirates Speak.
Okay, great. And when do you have any sort of ETA for that, when it might be coming out?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm just waiting on my artist.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only thing we're waiting on right now.
Well, now you can tell her there's an audience that knows about this book and they know it's coming.
Yeah, I know. But she showed me the sketch and the preliminary line drawings, and it was so cool. I don't want to push her too much, because I want her to do a good job, because it's a really neat cover. So
sure,
it'll be
that's
neat
great.
when we get it, hopefully before too much longer.
Yeah, great. Well, that sounds cool. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that, especially if you're including the trial transcripts and things like that. That would be fascinating to attempt to read.
I don't know how well it'll come out, but hopefully you can read it and read for yourself some of the stuff that went on.
Yeah, so maybe you could do trial transcripts and then a translation of the trial transcripts.
Yeah, it's interesting. They used F instead of S, so you always read it. You have to stop because you're reading about vessels instead of vessels, and
right, yeah.
They go failing everywhere instead of sailing everywhere. So occasionally, stop. You have to really stop and go, wait, no, this is sailing.
And with some of them, they really did go failing everywhere, so that kind of makes sense too.
Pirate, yes. And with I'm writing a book review for Cindy right now, and we went in and wrote, and we found the guy had referenced an old 1700s French text, and so my friend who speaks French and I went in and translated it. She was having fun because not only is it French, but it's ancient French, and she's like, "There's a lot of words here. I don't know." We had fun with that one, trying to get that translated. We go, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, that must have been quite the challenge. I only remember enough French from high school, just enough to annoy my girlfriend. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I can say like a couple words to you, and if someone's speaking it, I can tell you they're speaking French. But other than that,
I like that. I can identify French. That's
that's about it.
Well, Laura, this has been really cool. I'm glad we got a chance to talk. I have to go deeper into your website now and get a bunch of these stories, and because I got some learning to do. It sounds like. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you want the audience to know?
There are 2 Facebook pages. There's the blog. You can comment on the blog. There's also 2 Facebook pages. There's one for Peter Cornelius Hoof, and there's one for Olivier Levasseur.
Okay.
There's 2 of them out there on Levasseur, but one of them is really weird. It's like you can't comment on it.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Mine is the one that you could put comments if you want to. So if people have questions or anything, there's the 2 websites, there's the blog. So there's plenty of places that, they're welcome to comment or ask questions.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I set all that up so that people could do that.
Gives you some ideas of what to go find out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great. Well, I will make sure those are all linked up in the show notes. And this has been super fun. I'm glad we got a chance to talk.
All right. Yes, I did too. Thanks.
All right. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And there it is, friends. That was my interview with author Laura Nelson, and the book that she talked about in the interview that wasn't ready yet and all that kind of stuff, it actually is out now. She sent me an email. It's good, out, ready to go. It is called The Whydah Pirates Speak. You can find it on her website and through Amazon, and I will have a show notes link to it in the show notes for this show at underthecrossbones.com/047. So lots of places where you can get it. And it should be really interesting because we don't know a lot of the stories of those other guys like Peter Cornelius Hoof, right? Now you know. Now you know why that's the name of her URL, her web domain, right? So there it is. So if you're enjoying the show, which I hope you are, make sure that you catch up with us on Facebook, facebook.com/underthecrossbones, twitter.com/undercrossbones, no the in that one, too many characters. Twitter doesn't like too many characters. And of course, the show notes and the website, underthecrossbones.com. If you want to help keep the show afloat on the seas in a good wind, go to the support page. Underthecrossbones.com/support. Right there, there's a little PayPal box. You can drop some, just whatever donation you want in that little box. $1, $2, $5, $50, $1,000. Put $1,000 in there, and man, will I do something special for you. I don't know. Put whatever you want in there. Whatever you think the show is worth to you, that's cool. Total donation-y thing. There's an Amazon banner there. If you click on that Amazon banner, you go buy yourself something nice, like maybe a copy of The Whydah Pirates Speak, or something larger, like a lawnmower or a pool. Whatever it is, I'll get a little commission on that. Doesn't change your price at all. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little kickback when you buy something. If you click on the banner, you have to click on the banner. Otherwise, they don't know it was me because they're not mind readers yet at Amazon. Google reads minds, but Amazon does not read minds yet. Also, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, if you have a product, a service of some sort that you think would be applicable and enjoyable to a pirate audience, be a sponsor of the show. It's easy, it's cheap, it's fun. I'll talk about your product, and the people listening will go buy your product. So it's cool. All that is at underthecrossbones.com/support. All right, we got some comedy and music on the show today. We have some comedy from Dave Callans, who I played with Dave at the Ice House recently when we did the Comedy Time taping, and I totally dug his style. Very funny, dark, dark. Well, just dark. Yeah, he's good. So you're going to love Dave Callans. It's great. And then for music today, I did not have time this week to go dig up a new band because bands do not come flocking to me. I go find bands that I like and I ask them to play a song, and I did not have time to do that this week. So instead, we are going to hear some Ye Banished Privateers, and I believe it's called Dead Man's Song. So we always like some pirate music, because it's a pirate show, right? So we'll hear some Ye Banished Privateers today. I really like them a lot. All right, here we go. We got comedy from Dave Callans and music from Ye Banished Privateers.
You guys, I saw this safety tip online recently. Who knows this? If you're out at night, say you're by yourself, you're in a dark area, someone's going to attack you or attacking you, what are you supposed to yell? Fire. Fire. Someone said rape. You're going to be in trouble later on. No, studies have shown if you yell rape or help, nobody comes to help you, which I think says a lot about us as a society. But that's just weird. It's like what they suggest is you're supposed to yell fire. I think that's a bad suggestion. Because if I hear someone yell fire, I'm going the other direction. I'm not running over there to be like, oh, this is amazing. I think if you're in trouble, you should just yell, the McRib is back. You'll have like everybody within the sound of your voice will be coming to you. You'll probably still get beat up because you lied about having a McRib. But at least there'll be other people there. A friend of mine called someone an Indian giver the other day. You guys have all heard that term, right? That's like the weirdest insults. Because we stole everything the Indians have. And then we've got the nerve to make them sound like the jerks. That's like the why are you hitting yourself of genocide. It's just such a weird, I don't know. Thank you. Believe it or not, I do have a girlfriend. But I was single for a long time. And it's mainly because I'm bad at talking to women. When I was single, I was talking to this girl at a bar. We were talking for a long time, getting to know each other. And finally she looked at me, she's like, oh, you have an old soul. I was like, you got a fat soul. How do you like it? Not good at that. Where's my heavy drinkers at in here? Make some noise if you're a heavy drinker. Better yet, who's had an Irish car bomb? Clap for Irish car bombs. A fair amount of you, I think. That's like the best drink, but an American invented that. And for those that don't know, that's when you drop a shot in a pint of beer and you pound it. That's like the best drink with the saddest name. Like, that's a real part of Ireland's history. Like, people died in acts of terrorism, and we made it into a drink. Like, imagine going to Ireland, you walk into a pub, and some guy says to the bartender, "Hey, give me a Lee Harvey Oswald." That's not the funny part. The funny part is the bartender sets up 3 shots in front of him. Boom, another history joke.
Sailed away, now right today my life will loose around me neck the pull loose. But when I'm swinging from that rope, I won't cry although I choke. Or no, I smile, cause finally I will be free, I will be free. Set me free, set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, this life I see is not for me. Set me free, set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, this life I see is not for me. Rather than in the Navy spend my life, I wished for it to end. But a path that can't afford to take his life, this life alone. So I be hanging off the ground, let me pay what is sent to speed to die. So it wouldn't fry. Set me free, set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause life at sea is not for me. Set me free, set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause life at sea is not for me. So why you won't break his curse, and I stole the watch was first. Took the first maid in the nuts and then confess. I filled me guts, they locked me up in one pack. Had the cat that saw me back, and I all around the king. This end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. So then I stabbed their captain there. That thought for sure that I had my head, but I just heard a mutiny that heard me help promoted me. So as you watch my dancing night, seal our fate, the thought of mine. As a chorus of fleet approach west, I didn't toward the west. Set me free, set me free, set me free, set me free. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free, set me free. Misery, cause life at sea is not for me. And they were quiet as mice as I took a spicy price, and 63 Brits were killed right there. It made the choice to spare. I said you're Irish, so what we will say your life will set you free. Just announce the Brits and join our crew. God save King Charles and go fuck you! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. How I regret that awful day. I enrolled, sailed away, now I today the life will lose. Around me neck and put it loose. From where I'm swinging down below, I see the wreck and here I go. What a joy, finally, I will be free, I will be free. Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Set me free! Set me free! Set me free! Your Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me. Oh Lord, this end is necessary, cause I can see it's not for me.
And that's our show for today, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell your friends. That is the number one thing that you can do to help the show, is to tell your friends about it. Get them on, listen, and then subscribe. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit your iTunes or your Slacker or your Stitcher or your Google Play or whatever you're using to listen to podcasts. Make sure that you're subscribed to the show. Then you get every episode just bam, right in your phone first thing as soon as it comes out. It's great. You can get all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/047. If you want to find out more about Laura Nelson, the author we interviewed, her website is Peter Cornelius Hoof, all one word, .blogspot.com. If you want to check out more from Dave Callans, he is at daveccomedy.com. And his website should be up and running, he tells me, by the time this episode comes out. So check it out. If it's not up yet, give him a day or two. It'll be there for sure. And then Ye Banished Privateers, you can find at yebanishedprivateers.com. Cool, friends. So make sure, go hit that iTunes. Make sure you subscribe. Give us a little 5-star review while you're there. I like reading them. It's nice. It's fun. Helps us out over there. And that's it. I will catch you next week. Bye.